Happy Wednesday and welcome back to another exciting episode of the Rocketeer Minute, where each and every day, Monday through Friday, we go over 1 minute of the greatest adventure movie that Walt Disney's ever made. I'm one of your, by the way, it's the Rocketeer 1991 Joe Johnston film. I'm one of your hosts, Jim O'Kane of TVDads.com.
And I'm Hal Bryan, an airplane nerd from the Experimental Aircraft Association here in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. And Jim, we have a guest today.
Yay.
Yes, it's me. It's me, Alex, podcasting's Alex Robinson from the Star Wars Minute.
Yay, which is the granddaddy of all Movies by Minute podcasts, which has spawned quite a group of folks examining movies you'd never thought you'd be talking about again, one of which being The Rocketeer. But we're very happy to have you on board here, Alex. And I understand, from what I understand, you have never seen this movie. Is that correct? Or
no, I've never seen it. The first watching Minute 18 was the very first minute of The Rocketeer I've ever seen. I did read the graphic novel. Being a cartoonist, I keep on top of those things. But no, I've never actually seen the movie, so I was curious to check it out. It just never came across my radar. It's not like I had anything against it, although, of course, not everyone holds it as high a regard as you do. But
and here I thought we were going to be friends, Alex. Jim, I have to go.
Okay, well, we'll lead him through, and maybe he'll watch the other 106 minutes of this movie.
That's right.
But it actually does it does vary greatly from Dave Stevens' novel. I mean, there's no there really isn't a Timothy Dalton character or a Paul Sorvino character in this, and
really got to beef it up.
Not as much craziness, but where we're starting this minute, we're still back with Crazy Tim Dalton, who has a sword at Paul Sorvino's neck, or maybe we'll go by the character names, Neville Sinclair and Eddie Valentine, which is a great gangster name, and he's holding that the point right at the edge of his ample chin, and they're still in the House on Haunted Hill house, having this discussion about new terms of agreement on where their contract's going. I'm really enjoying Timothy Dalton this week, as this is his first moments in the film, and he is playing a great bad guy. This also coming right on the heels of The Living Daylights, so he gets to be a good guy as well as a bad guy in the same year. Not too shabby.
So he was in the middle of the Bond things. I don't know enough about Bond to know where Living Daylights is in the.
So he was, he was technically, let's see. So the very first Bond was Barry Nelson, did a live TV show. We don't really count him. Then you had Connery, then you had Lazenby, then you had Connery again, then you had Moore, then you had Dalton for 2 films. So Dalton was between Moore and Brosnan.
But I think this was his second. This would have been right immediately following his second one, so he was just kind of coming off the Bond thing. This would have been immediately after The Living Daylights.
License to Kill. Yeah, Living Daylights first, then License to Kill.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, so this is in between. So License to Kill was coming after this. So he's mid Bond.
Aren't we all sometimes sort of mid Bond?
Yeah, but he's definitely doing good being a bad guy. I think he's pulling quite a bit of Prince Baron. I mean, maybe it's just the sword, but I think he's pulling a little bit of Flash Gordon here with the whole Prince Baron look thing. We haven't been introduced yet to the characters that he's playing in the movies. He is a movie actor, but definitely getting into the swashbuckling thing personally. As a movie that you don't know much about, Alex, how are you reacting to these initial seconds of The Rocketeer? Was it what you were expecting, or?
Well, No. Well, a mix. I wasn't sure at first whether, because I assumed Paul Sorvino was playing like a gangster when I first saw it, but so that made me think that Timothy Dalton was on the good guy's side. But then, so I did cheat a little bit and watch the minute or so previously just to provide some context. So,
okay.
So
they're all bad guys, and it seems like we should be rooting for Eddie. I'm still, having seen this movie too many times, I'm not sure on first viewing who the director wants you to be rooting for at the time. It seems to be they're all bad guys, so I guess they're equal part. These are just arguments among villains.
Yeah, it's sort of like Boba Fett arguing with Darth Vader, to put it in terms that I would understand.
Okay, there we are. Yeah.
I guess it's more like Boba Fett and Jabba, because Paul Sorvino would be the gangster.
Yeah. So where does that put Spanish Johnny and Mikey, who are the guys with the guns in the back? I'm not. I guess other bounty hunters or something.
Like Zuckus, maybe.
Well,
Yeah.
they work for Jabba, so they would be like Weequay.
Oh, like Weequay.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, there we go.
Let's say Barada.
Yeah. Okay.
Klaatu and Nikto just sit this one out.
Yeah, well, they're out in the car. Keep
Yeah.
the car running.
Wow. But all good acting. They get to show off how they can quietly walk out down the hallway.
I thought
which,
the guy who's holding the gun, he almost looks like I don't know how you say his name out loud. The guy who played Fredo Corleone, John Cazale.
John Cazale. Yeah. I can see that. Yeah.
I need just to see who that was, but it wasn't anyone I recognized.
Yeah, it's and they also seem to have disappeared off the internet. I've been trying to reach out to them to see if we could have them on as a guest, but it would be interesting to see how much time they got to most of the time they spend reacting to things. Although they do get some pretty good lines later on in the movie.
Well, acting is reacting, as they say.
Yeah, and Paul Sorvino doing a great job there. I'm not sure when was Goodfellas in relation to this film. That would have been 2 years after.
Goodfellas came out the year before this.
Oh, okay.
I actually looked it up. So,
so he's
this
playing.
would have been like almost immediately for post Goodfellas. So,
oh, okay. So he's right. They just put a hat on him and off he went. And
dressed him a little better, not much.
yeah.
I think they kind of tricked him, and they filmed this while they were doing Goodfellas, and just didn't tell him it was for an entirely different movie.
Yeah.
Wondering why his clothes were a little dated, but otherwise.
Yeah.
And
Great,
why is Errol Flynn here waving an epee at me?
What is he holding in his hand as he's pointing?
You mean when they're that side shot when they're facing each other?
About second 23. Yeah, is his middle finger bandaged? I'm just trying to figure out what's going on with his hand there. It's just a very unusual. It looks like he's holding something in his hand while he's pointing his finger, and I don't know what it.
Yeah, that's a good question.
What it is that he's got in his hand.
Did he get his boutonniere back? Did somebody
No,
toss it to him off camera? I mean,
Mikey's holding it. Mikey's holding it in his hand in the background.
Okay, he still does have it.
Yeah. And they seem to be having a pretty good time. What's the deal? The other thing, the apples look like onions. Are they in the with the lilies? He's got that little basket in front of him, and I could swear those look like just a pile of onions. But
Really, that sounds like an unreleased Beatles song, actually.
yeah,
But either the apples look like onions, a pile of onions.
it's very peculiar.
Maybe it was a thing in the 30s.
Yeah.
30s or 20s? When is this?
1938. It's October 15th. October 14th, excuse me. Yeah.
So we're out of the Depression, but really the apples clearly haven't recovered. We're not back to normal apple at this point.
Yeah.
Maybe Neville Sinclair enjoys a good onion after dinner. It's an odd piece.
Or he wears it on his belt, as was the style of the time.
Yeah, very well lit room. I noticed. There's so many. I mean, maybe he does like having Fresnel lamps hanging from his ceiling, but it just seems a very unnecessarily well lit room.
Well, he's in showbiz.
Yeah. In terms of likability, there isn't much in this. Neville is not a likable guy. Do we like Eddie Valentine? He seems to be a strong horse in this one. He's not pushing back, even with a guy that had the point of a sword to his throat. Doesn't really have any kind of fear there.
Which shows you how cool he is.
Yeah.
Well, right at the very beginning, when he does have the sword to his neck, and then he's just got his hand up. He's not breaking eye contact with Dalton, but he just has his hand up off to the side, keeping the henchman over there. It's just, that's just classic cool right there.
He's clearly been in this situation before.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Constantly having eppies poked into his chin.
By movie stars who may or may not be what they appear.
Yeah.
I mean,
so many clients with swords. That seems to be his thing.
We've all been there.
Yeah. I do like the little carafe that's parked on the end table there. Although there doesn't seem to be any the hoddle. I think they used to call that when you go to if you go to a diner like a Denny's or something like that, they'd bring out a small coffee jar, and that seems to be the hoddle that's parked on the end table to the left of the chair on the left of the screen.
Hoddle? How do you? What's that word?
Hottle. I think if you look in eBay, there'll be hundreds of examples of hoddles for sale from classic 40s or 50s or 30s at the time. It was a hot bottle, so that you could pick it. The top part of it is insulated, so you could grab it by the top and pour hot coffee out of it into a cup.
Huh. Interesting.
And now you've got me thinking, where in the world is the Rocketeer screen-used hoddle today? And what are the chances of finding it?
Someday.
It's good to have dreams, isn't it?
Someday it'll be on your shelf, yeah.
It's good to look forward to something.
That's got to be going for like upwards of $20 on eBay at this point.
Easily, yeah.
Easily.
The trick, the certification paper is probably twice that.
Right. Well, I don't like to brag, but now that I'm a rich podcaster, there's really nothing out of reach.
That's where it goes. I think this is the first. We haven't had. This is the second disagreement we've had in the movie. We've had the first disagreement is with Cliff and the FBI arguing about whether or not the FBI was going to pay for his wrecked plane.
Right.
This is yet another confrontation. I think there's going to be about 4 more in this movie where it's like that. So this, I'm wondering if the screenwriter just fell back on that as this worked and goes on, every couple of minutes have another face-to-face confrontation with oh yeah.
Well, it's like you said though. It's it's establishing who these people are, what their roles are, but it's also keeping us guessing. Like we were talking a minute ago, who's the bad guy? Who really is the villain of the piece, and we can't, we don't want to think it's the handsome leading man.
Well, ultimate question here is how many takes did they have to do to get that Lily cut?
Oh, yeah. He just nails that.
Yeah, but that might have been nailing it after the 8th take.
Sure.
I assumed it was all CGI.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
remarkably ahead of its time.
Yeah.
Do you think they're perforated so that maybe when he cuts them, like stagehands are just pulling the tops off with like string or something, like piano, invisible wires?
All those years at Juilliard may have paid off, though. I don't know if he had if they go over that at lily cutting class in fencing school.
Right.
It's I don't know. I'm assuming that somewhere they have like a big stack, like the I can't remember the name of there's a floral place on Fairfax and 3rd in Los Angeles. It's not too far from here, where you go in there and there's just this wholesale florist place where you can buy stacks of roses, and there's probably like stacks of daylilies where they could load up a truck and come out and, okay, take 7, take 8.
Well, you notice there's a lot of them in the background too. I think sort of just in case if we need more cuts.
Yeah.
We've even got them on screen.
Have either of you guys ever cut anything with it's an epi, right? Not a sword.
Yeah, it's an epi. I think it's an epi.
I'll
I
have
want to
swords
say
too. Have you guys ever cut anything with a sword or epi or any handheld blade device like that?
I don't think I have. I actually did fence a little bit in college, but it was almost all foil. Just did an epee once or twice, and even then, with another person, you're actually sort of discouraged from actually cutting anybody or anything. So, I mean, certainly, when I was in high school and I had foils, I would, probably do this kind of thing and like try to swish off a, blade of long grass or something like that. But I don't think I have.
I used to have a sai when I was a kid, and I worked at the town that I lived in upstate New York. We used to have to cut hedges with it, and it was this large, it's like the USSR sai. It was this big curved handle, and maybe if you did it with a scimitar, but that used to get you a pretty straight edge. We used to have to cut cattails down, and it got a lot more even than what this was. I don't know what the tensile strength of lily stalks are, but they look pretty sturdy. It looks almost like bamboo that he's chopping there.
Yeah, or celery at least.
Yeah,
the way they stay upright and stay so strong. So Alex, you asked the question. Now I suppose you should answer it. Have you ever cut anything with a sword or a lightsaber?
No, I have not that I can remember, but I really would like to, because I'm always skeptical. Like, you see in a movie or something where somebody cuts someone's head off with one shot with a sword, and I'm wondering if that's like at all feasible. So what I'm saying is, can you guys set it up so I can cut someone's head off with a sword just for the sake of research?
I think that's a very fair request, and I think even though here we are in what, minute 18, it is not the most outlandish request we've gotten so far from a guest. Would you agree, Jim?
No, I would say so. And well, I mean, there is something you do work at EAA in Oshkosh, and we have lots of whirling propellers and things. That's always an opportunity. I do want that gigantic Western Electric phone he's picking up, which must weigh. I would say the receiver itself weighs about 5 pounds easily.
Easy. Yeah. Big solid Bakelite.
Yeah, it looks like a murder weapon. But there at the last moment, we're seeing Tiny Ron doing his Pinky acting. If that doesn't scream Best Supporting Actor, I don't know what does. Couldn't find out anything about the radio, but it's a nice looking radio. And apparently he's parked immediately outside of a neon sign. So we'll find out. Okay.
I was disappointed we didn't get to see this guy's face, because he's supposed to be made up as what's his name, Rondo Hatton. Yeah. Well,
we'll be seeing a whole lot more of him coming up. So
you will, but I won't.
Well, yeah. Someday.
Well, you will when you watch the movie, and it'll change your life, Alex.
Yeah.
Not to overpromise.
Yeah.
You'll be on a transcontinental flight, and somewhere in the 4th tier of in case you missed it movies at the bottom of the choices on the screen. Just keep scrolling, and eventually the Rocketeer will show up.
I keep hoping it's going to be on Netflix or Amazon or something, but so far I don't think I've seen it.
Yeah, Disney is awfully persnickety about this particular movie, and I don't know why. When it was released, their 20th anniversary had absolutely nothing on the Blu-ray. It's like, here's the movie, and here's a 30-second commercial that we had for it, so you can watch those, and that's about it.
They did a little bit of merchandising around it, if you like art prints and things like that, like that great 1939 The World's Fair cover on that folio. They did a poster of that I missed out on, but yeah, they don't screen it much. It's not out there much. Alex says, Jim has mentioned I work for this group out here in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Every year we put on the biggest aviation event in the world. It's a week-long fly-in with 12,000 airplanes and 500,000 people. And one of the things we do, we have a big 80-foot outdoor movie theater, 80-foot inflatable screen outdoor movie theater, and we show movies every night. And sometimes I'll go and introduce those. And we did get Disney's permission to screen The Rocketeer, and it took a while, but we were able to do it. And I don't know, we had 10,000 people sitting out there on the grass watching it one night, which was a real kick. But that was a struggle, and it was a rarity too for them to authorize, especially an outdoor screening. Disney's not a fan of that for some reason.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they don't respect this movie enough. I mean, it's not it's already an asset that they have, and it just seems like there's some kind of politics that we don't know about that prevents this movie from getting a resurgence, or maybe just nobody knows about it, or nobody wants to know about it. And
well, they will after this, Jim.
Yeah, for sure. Wow. Well, Alex, if you can hang on for just a little bit more, tomorrow we can talk a little bit more about Dave Stevens and graphic art and the other Rocketeer that people may be more familiar with. So let's pick up things tomorrow. For those of you listening in, please check us out on social media. We were available at a multitude of places. You can find us Twitter, Rocketeer Minute. You can find us on Facebook, the Rocketeer Minute Bulldog Cafe. You can find us at the great big website, rocketeerminute.com, where we have all the previous episodes so you can catch up. We can also, there's a link there to Amazon, so if you haven't seen The Rocketeer like Alex hasn't, you can get a copy right there and have it delivered right to your desktop on Amazon Prime. But check all those sites out, and we are always interested in your comments, so please join us out there on Facebook. So let's pick this up tomorrow as we talk more about the mysterious guy and his big hairy pinky. Tomorrow here on the Rocketeer Minute. So until then, over and out.
Go get him, kid.